The constant hum of engines filled the massive docking bay of Outpost 47. Hundreds of ships from sleek military vessels to enormous cargo haulers moved in and out of the bustling space station in Bay 13. Far from the primary docking areas sat an old Earth cargo ship called the Grey Dawn. Unlike its shiny neighbors, the Grey Dawn's hull showed its age, with paint peeling off in places, and clear signs of long years in space. Captain Tom Walker stood at the ship's main viewport, watching as yet another group of dock workers walked past his vessel without a second glance. He smiled slightly, running a hand through his graying hair. The ship's ignorability, as he liked to call it, was working perfectly. Captain called Jack from the engine room through the ship's internal comm system. "Old Betty's doing that thing again." Tom walked to the bridge, his boots making hollow sounds against the metal floor, the bridge of the Grey. Dawn looked nothing like the modern ship's gleaming control centers. Its old-style buttons and switches covered the panels, and in the center, a simple holographic display flickered with occasional static. "What's she up to now, Old Betty?" Tom asked the ship's AI system. The holographic display shifted, showing lines of basic text, rather than the fancy 3D images used by newer ships, just running some calculation agents. HT, the AI replied, in a voice that sounded like an elderly librarian. Something interesting caught my attention. In the recent ship traffic, before Tom could ask more, the dock's warning system began blaring. Red lights flashed across every surface, and the station's AI made an announcement, warning large fleet detected approaching human space. All civilian vessels prepare for possible evacuation. The calm of the docking bay instantly transformed into chaos. Ships began powering up, crews ran across the walkways, and the sound of engines grew from a hum to a roar. Through it all, the Grey Dawn sat quietly, seemingly forgotten in the panic. "Well, Old Betty," Tom said, settling into his worn captain's chair. "Looks like your calculations were right again." The ship's 4 other crew members made their way to the bridge. Jack, the engineer, his hand stained with engine gas. Mary, who handled communications, already checking the incoming emergency signals. Pete and Bill, the cargo specialists, who were much more than they appeared, took their stations without a word. "Military vessels incoming," Mary reported, her voice steady. Despite the chaos outside, 3 battleships and their support craft. They're taking control of the station's defense network through the viewport. Tom watched as massive military ships moved into position around the station. Their weapon systems powered up, creating webs of energy between them. The sight would have impressed most people, but Tom and his crew simply continued their work. "Old Betty, show me what you found," Tom ordered, knowing the AI had been building to this moment the simple holographic display filled with data. Star charts, ship movements, and energy readings appeared. The basic graphics might have looked primy to others, but they showed something remarkable, a pattern that had been developing for months. The approaching fleet matches, all predicted parameters. Old Betty announced their shield harmonics. "Follow the exact patterns I've been tracking. The algorithm is complete." As if to confirm the eye's words, a new message broadcast across all channels. A deep voice, clearly alien, filled every speaker in human space. "Attention, human colony. This is the Golden Armada. Your expansion ends. Now surrender immediately, or face elimination. You have 1 standard hour to comply." The panic outside increased. Civilian ships began launching, without proper clearance, causing near collisions. The military vessels moved to create order, their commanders already planning for battle. Nobody paid any attention to the old cargo ship in Bay 13. "They're using the same shield configuration I detected in their scout ships," Old Betty continued. "The frequency variations are consistent with my analysis." Tom nodded, a plan forming in his mind. "Time to test our theory." Old Betty, "Mary, send our findings to military command." Use the regular channels. Mary did, as ordered. But they all knew what would happen. Within minutes, she shook her head. "Command acknowledges receipt, but marks it as low priority. They're focused on the battleship's tactical data." "Of course they are," Tom said with a slight smile. "Why would they pay attention to an old cargo hauler sensor readings?" "Jack, how are the special modifications holding up?" Jack grinned, wiping his hands on his already dirty uniform. "Everything's hidden just like it should be. External scans still show us as nothing but an outdated heap of metal hauling basic supplies." The hour passed quickly. Outside, military commanders made plans, civilian ships evacuated, and station personnel prepared for battle. The Golden Armada grew closer, their ships now visible to the naked eye through the station's massive windows. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, their golden hulls gleaming against the darkness of space. All non-essential personnel evacuate immediately. The station's AI announced. Military vessels assumed defensive positions. Civilian ships clear the area. Tom watched as the docking bay slowly emptied. A young station worker finally noticed the gray dawn and ran over waving his arms. "Hey, you need to evacuate. This isn't a drill." "No worry, son," Tom called back through the ship's external speakers. "We're just finishing our power-up sequence. Old girl takes a while to get moving these days." The worker looked like he wanted to argue, but was called away by his supervisor. As he left, Tom heard him mutter their funeral. "If they want to be slow, power readings are rising." In the Golden Arm meta, Old Betty reported they're preparing to attack. All readings match predicted patterns. Tom straightened in his chair, looking at each of his crew members. They had trained for this, prepared for years, while pretending to be nothing more than a simple cargo crew. "Well, folks, looks like we're about to find out if being ignored is as useful as we hoped." The Golden Armada ships moved into attack formation, their energy readings spiked and their weapons charged. The human battleships responded their own weapons, powering up the space around Outpost 47, crackled with building energy in Bay 13. The Gray Dawn's engines humped to life, sounding rough and unreliable to any listeners. But hidden beneath that false sound, special systems decades ahead of their time, prepared for action. Old Betty's basic display showed their true status. Everything was perfect. "Want to know something funny?" Tom asked his crew as the first shots were about to be fired. That young worker was right. This isn't a drill, but he was wrong about one thing. He smiled as Old Betty's display showed all systems. "Ready? We're not slow at all." The Great Dawn's true mission was about to begin, and not a single person outside its crew knew what was coming. Sometimes Tom realized being ignored was the greatest advantage of all the space around Outpost 47, filled with military ships. As the Golden Armada approached, massive battleships moved into defensive positions, their weapons charging with bright blue energy. The Gray Dawn watched it all from Bay 13, its systems quietly gathering data while appearing to struggle with basic power-up sequences. "Military command vessel approaching," Mary announced from her communication station. The crew watched as an enormous ship, the Starhammer, took position directly in front of the station. Its hold sparkled with fresh paint and new armor plates. Everything about it screaming power and authority. "They're broadcasting to all channels," Mary added, turning up the volume. Admiral James's voice moved through their speakers. "This is Admiral James. Of the Earth Defense Fleet, all civilian vessels must clear the combat zone immediately. This is not a request. Any ship remaining in the area will be considered hostile." Tom looked at his crew and nodded. "Time to play our part. Mary, send them our departure request. Make it sound properly panicked." Mary grinned and leaned into her microphone, her voice shifting to a nervous stutter. This is cargo vessel Gray Dawn requesting departure path. Our engines are having trouble with fast startup. Please advise." The response was immediate and dismissive. "Gray Dawn, you have 5 minutes to clear the area. If you can't move, you'll be abandoned. Military command out." Jack snorted from his engineering station. "Abandoned? If they only knew what Old Betty can really do." The simple tech display flickered. "Primary analysis complete. The Golden Armada's shield frequency matches all previously collected data. Their weakness is confirmed." Tom straightened in his chair. "Send the data to military command. One more time. They should see it now that they're in combat range." The crew waited as Mary transmitted their findings. The response came quickly. "Cargo vessel Gray Dawn ceased cluttering military channels with sensor ghost data. This is your final warning to evacuate." "Well," Tom said, his voice calm. "Can't say we didn't try to warn them." He pressed a button on his worn armrest. "Old Betty, begin Phase 2. The Gray Dawn's engines coughed and sputtered, sounding like they could barely function. The ship slowly backed out of its bay, appearing to struggle with even this simple movement. Other ships rushed past them, their crews probably wondering why anyone would fly such an old wreck through the viewport they watched. The Golden Armad ships emerged from light speed, The alien vessels were beautiful and terrifying, their golden holes catching the light of nearby stars. They moved in perfect formation, hundreds of ships working as one. Their command ship is broadcasting. Mary reported. The alien voice filled their ship again. Your time has expired. Witness the power of the golden arm. Meta, the alien ships opened fire. Brilliant beams of energy shot toward the human fleet. The military vessels raised their shields, preparing for impact. But something unexpected happened. The alien weapons sliced through the human shields like they weren't there. Two smaller military ships exploded instantly. The Starhammer took a direct hit, its new armor scared and burning. "My God!" Jack whispered. "They've adapted their weapons to our shield frequencies. Not quite old." Betty's text scrolled across her display. "They've had this capability all along. They leaked false data to make our military develop the exact shields they could penetrate." Tom nodded grimly. "Which is exactly what you discovered by analyzing their patrol movements over the last 3 years. Every seemingly random alien encountered was part of their plan. The space around them erupted in chaos. Military ships scrambled to adjust their shields, but nothing worked. The Golden Armada pressed their advantage, their formation splitting into attack groups that targeted the largest human ships. First, Sir Peak called from his station, dropping his usual quiet act. The Starhammer is taking heavy damage. Their engines are failing. Tom watched the mighty battleship drift its weapons. Barely functioning Admiral James's voice came through again, but this time it wasn't confident. "All ships fall back. Their weapons are too strong. Retreat to secondary defense positions." "Not too strong," Tom said quietly. "Just carefully planned." He looked at his crew. Time to show them what careful planning really looks like. "Old Betty, are you ready?" The AI's response was immediate. "All systems prepared. The cargo bay. Modifications are powered and hidden. Our true shield system is ready, but masked. We appear to be nothing more than a struggling civilian vessel on all scans." Tom smiled. "Perfect, Mary. Send a distress call. Make it good." Mary cleared her throat and began broadcasting. "Help, our engines are failing. We can't make it to the evacuation point. Can anyone assist, please?" The crew watched as ships ignored their call, too busy with their own survival. The Golden Armada pressed forward, their ships moving past the gray dawn without a second glance. Just as old Betty had predicted, they saw the old cargo ship as too insignificant to waste weapons on. Sir Bill spoke up from his station. "We're in position. The Armad formation puts their command ship exactly where we calculated it would be." Tom took a deep breath. Years of preparation came down to this moment. Old Betty showed them what a real ghost in the machine can do. The AI simple display suddenly expanded, filling the bridge with complex holographic data. Hidden panels throughout the ship opened, revealing advanced technology that had been disguised as rusty cargo containers. The ship's power signature remained masked, but inside, it hummed with energy that would make a battleship jealous. "Initiate frequency broadcast," Old Betty announced, targeting their shield harmonics in 3, 2, 1. The gray dawn sent out a pulse that was invisible to normal sensors. It rippled through space, touching each golden ship in the alien fleet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then a small alien shift. Shields flickered and died. Then another, and another. "What's happening?" The alien commander's voice bounded across all channels, showing fear for the first time. Find the source, but they couldn't find it. The Gray Dawn systems were too well hidden. It's true. Power masked by years of carefully crafted deception. The mighty Golden Armada, which had expected to face powerful battleships, had no defense against a cargo ship. They'd been trained to ignore. "Signal the Starhammer," Tom ordered. "Send them the shield frequency Dava." Again. "This time market is coming from their own sensors." Mary complied, and moments later Admiral James's voice returned. "All ships adjust shields to new frequency. Open fire on the enemy vessels. Their shields are failing the human fleet." What remained of it began to strike back. This time their weapons hit true. Golden ships began to explode, their perfect formation breaking apart as they tried to find the source of their vulnerability. And through it all, the Gray Dawn continued to drift like a wounded civilian vessel, ignored by both sides. As the battle raged around it, the crew watched with satisfaction as their years of patience finally paid off. Sometimes Tom fought the most dangerous weapon isn't the biggest or the shiniest. Sometimes it's the one everyone is trained not to see. Explosions lit up the space around Outpost 47. As the battle intensified, the Golden Armad ships spun and twisted, trying to restore their failing shields. The Grey Dawn drifted between the chaos, its true nature still hidden from both friends and enemies. Multiple alien ships approaching our position, Peep reported, his fingers moving across his old-fashioned control panel. They're running detailed scans of the area, but they're passing right over us. Tom watched through the viewport as 3 golden ships moved past them, their sensors searching for the source of their problems. The Grey Dawn systems, disguised as cargo containers in old equipment, continued to broadcast the shield-disrupting frequency without drawing attention. Captain Jack called from engineering. "You need to see this. Old Betty found something interesting in their scan patterns." The AI display showed new data. The alien ships weren't just searching randomly. They were following a specific pattern, moving outward in a spiral from their command ship. Tom smiled as he realized what this meant. "They think we're using a big weapon," he said. "They're looking for a battleship or a hidden station." It never occurred to them that a small cargo ship could cause this much trouble. A massive explosion rocked the ground. Dawn as a nearby alien ship took a direct hit from the Starhammer. The human fleet was recovering now, their weapons finally effective against the weakened alien shields. Admiral James's voice moved across the communications channels again, full of renewed confidence. "Push forward. Their shields can't stop us now. Show them the true power of humanity's fleet." Mary shook her head at her communication station. "They still don't realize we're the ones who made this possible. They think their weapons just needed better calibration." "That's exactly what we want them to think," Tom replied. Old Betty status report on the alien command ship. Text scrolled across the eye symbol. Display their shield frequency is adapting, but slowly, they didn't prepare for this type of attack. Adjusting our broadcast pattern to match their changes. Another explosion lit up space closer. This time the Grey Dawn shuddered, and warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Hull breach in cargo. Section 3, Jack reported quickly. "Sealing now." Now that blast was too close. Tom gripped his chair as the ship stabilized. "We need to move." But naturally, "Mary, send out another distress call. Make it sound like we're barely holding together." Mary leaned into her microphone, her voice shaking perfectly. "Help. We've taken damage from debris engines failing life support at 50%. Can anyone assist?" The act worked perfectly. A small alien ship moved closer, probably preparing to destroy what it saw as a helpless target, but before it could fire, 3 human fighters attacked it from behind, driving it away from the Grey Dawn. "That was too close," Bill muttered from his station. "Maybe we should power up our real shields, just in case." Tom shook his head. "Not unless we absolutely have to. The moment we show our true capabilities, we lose our advantage." "Old Betty, how's the frequency broadcast holding up?" "Maintaining effectiveness," the AI responded. "But the alien command ship is beginning to implement a rotating shield pattern. They still haven't found us, but they're trying to protect themselves from an unknown weapon." The battle shifted around them. The Golden Armada's perfect formation had completely broken down. Some ships clustered around their command vessel, while others spread out, still searching for the phantom weapon that was causing their shields to fail. Sir Peak called out. "Suddenly, they're changing tactics. 5 ships are powering up some kind of energy pulse. It looks like they're planning to hit everything." In range, Tom leaned forward in his chair. This was the moment they'd prepared for, but had hoped wouldn't come. Old Betty analysis. The response was immediate energy pulse, designed to overload shield systems. They're hoping to disable whatever is interfering with their shields. Probability high that this will damage their own ships as well. They're getting desperate. Mary broadcast to the Starhammer. "Use a masked signal that looks like it's coming from their own systems. Warn them about the pulse." Mary worked quickly, sending the warning. Moments later, Admiral James ordered all human ships to fall back to safe distance. The Grey Dawn, still playing its role as a crippled cargo vessel, drifted slowly away from the area. The alien ships released their pulse. A wave of energy spread out in all directions, making the very fabric of space real. Several smaller alien ships lost power immediately, their own desperate attack backfiring. But the Grey Dawn's hidden systems absorbed the energy harmlessly. just as they were designed to do. "Status report," Tom called out as the energy wave passed through them all. "Systems functioning normally," Jack replied with a grin. "Those outdated power couplings, they all laugh at. Turns out they're perfect for handling energy surges." Who knew old Betty's display flickered with new information? "Alien command shift. Shield rotation is ineffective. Their energy pulse damaged. Their own shield generators. They are more vulnerable now than before." Tom watched as the human fleet pressed their advantage. The Starhammer led the attack, its weapons tearing through the weakened alien shields. The Golden Armada's smaller ships began to retreat, breaking formation and fleeing into deeper space. Sir Mary said suddenly, "I'm picking up transmissions from the alien command ship. They're speaking in their own language. But old Betty can translate." The alien words appeared on their screen. "The humans must have developed a new weapon. Find it. It has to be something massive to affect our entire fleet." Another alien voice responded. "We've scanned every military ship and station. There's nothing, just normal weapons and that broken cargo ship that keeps drifting through the battle." Tom couldn't help but smile. Even now, with their fleet falling apart, the aliens couldn't see what was right in front of them. Their own assumptions about what a threat should look like had blinded them completely. "Old Betty," he said quietly, "let's finish this. Show them what a broken cargo ship can really do." The AI adjusted its broadcast frequency one final time across the battlefield. The remaining alien-shipped shields failed completely. The mighty Golden Armada, which had arrived expecting an easy victory, was now desperately trying to escape. As the battle began to wind down, Tom looked at his crew. Each of them had played their part perfectly, maintaining their cover as a simple cargo crew through, even as they helped turn the tide of battle years of being ignored and underestimated, had led to this moment. Sir Mary said, smiling at her console. "The Starhammer is asking all ships to report status. Should we respond?" Tom leaned back in his chair, watching as the last alien ships flood into deep space. "Just send them what they expect. Tell them we're damaged, but surviving, and thank them for driving off the aliens." The crew chuckled. Let everyone think this was just another story of military might, defeating an alien threat. The Grey Dawn's true role would remain hidden, ready for the next time someone made the mistake of judging the ship by its appearance. The remains of the Golden Armada hung in space, like broken jewelry, their once proud ships now drifting without power. The human fleet regrouped around Outpost 47, celebrating what they thought was their victory through it all. The Grey Dawn maintained its act, occasionally letting out small bursts of visible engine trouble. For anyone who might be watching incoming transmission from the alien command ship, Mary announced, her voice tight with anticipation. "They're not running anymore. They're trying something new." The alien commander's voice filled their... But this time it wasn't speaking to the human fleet. It was talking to its own ships in their language. Not realizing the Grey Dawn could understand every word, the weapon must be hidden on that station. The alien commander said, "Prepare the Death Strikers for a final attack. We'll destroy everything in this sector if we have to." Old Betty's display lit up with warnings. Death Strikers detected 15 ships. Breaking away from the alien fleet energy readings suggest suicide vessels packed with explosive materials. Tom sat up straighter in his chair. This was bad. Even with failed shields, 15 ships loaded with explosives could destroy the station, and most of the human fleet. "How long until the military spots them too late?" Pete answered, watching his sensors. "The Death Strikers are masking their power signatures. They look like disabled ships to normal scanners." The crew of the Grey Dawn watched as the 15 ships drifted closer to the station, playing dead, just like they have been doing. The human fleet was busy picking off the remaining active alien ships, not realizing the real threat. "We have to warn them," Bill said, his hands hovering over his control panel. Tom shook his head. "If we warn them directly, the aliens will know, can understand their language. We'll lose our advantage for future battles." He fought for a moment, then smiled. "Old Betty, remember that trick we used in the asteroid belt last year?" The EG guy's text scrolled quickly. "Affirmative. Adjusting our malfunctioning engines to release a specific radiation pattern. Military sensors will detect it as a hazard." The Grey Dawn's engine sputtered more obviously, now releasing a stream of radiation that looked like a dangerous malfunction as planned. The Starhammer sensors picked it up immediately. All ships clear away from that cargo vessel. Admiral James commanded. Their reactor is going critical. Establish a safety perimeter. The human ships moved away from the gray dawn, inadvertently positioning themselves to spot the drifting Death Strikers. Tom watched as realization spread through the human fleet. Multiple hostile ships detected the star hammer sensors, finally caught what old Betty had seen minutes ago. They're loaded with explosives. All ships open fire. Don't let them reach the station. The space around them erupted in weapons fire. Again, the human fleet scrambled to stop the Death Strikers. But the alien ships were small and fast. 3 got past the initial barrage, heading straight for the station, sir. Jack called from engineering. We could stop them. Our real weapons are still hidden and powered. Tom gripped his chair tightly. Using their weapons would expose them, but letting those ships reach the station would kill thousands. Old Betty options. The AI responded instantly. Alternate solution available. The shield disrupting frequency can be modified to affect engine containment. Field's probability of success? 89.3% do it, Tom ordered. But make it look natural. The Gray Dawn's hidden systems adjusted their broadcast to everyone watching. The ship still appeared to be having radiation problems, but the 3 Death Strikers suddenly started showing in real engine troubles. The first one's engines overloaded, causing it to explode far from any targets. The second spun out of control, its containment field failing. At exactly the wrong moment, the third managed to get closer to the station, but its explosives detonated prematurely. When its engine containment failed. It's working, Pete exclaimed. The other Death Strikers are having similar problems. Their engine containment fields are failing fast, faster than they can compensate. One by one, the suicide ships destroyed themselves harmlessly in space. The human fleet, thinking the ships had been poorly maintained, continued to fire on the few remaining attackers. The alien command ship, watching its final plan fail, began charging its main weapons. Everything at once. The alien commander ordered in his own language. Fire on that station with all remaining power, Sir Mary said urgently. They're diverting power from life support to weapons. They're going to kill their own crews, just to cause damage. Tom looked at his crew. They'd worked so hard to stay hidden to maintain their advantage for future battles. But he couldn't let thousands die just to protect their secret. Old Betty prepared too. Before he could finish, the AI's display lit up with new information. Alternative solution, implementing redirecting shield, disrupting frequency through the alien fleet's power distribution network. Their weapon charge is feeding back into their systems. The alien command ship's weapon suddenly went dark. Power failures cascaded through their systems as Old Betty used their own energy against them. The mighty vessel began to drift, its crew desperately trying to restore basic life support. This is Commander Bragg of the Golden Armada. A new alien voice broadcast on all channels. This one speaking English. We surrender. Our ships are dead in space. Please send help. Our life support is failing. The human fleet moved in quickly, boarding parties, securing the alien vessels, and evacuating their crews. The Starhammer coordinated the effort, making sure no ships were playing possum to attempt one final attack through it. All the Gray Dawn continued to act like it was struggling with radiation leaks. Several ships offered to help evacuate their crew, but Mary politely declined, saying they had things under control. Engineering to bridge. Jack's voice came through the internal sea. You should see what Old Betty found in their final transmission burst, putting it on main display. Now the screen showed a message that had been sent from the alien command ship to their home. World defeat confirmed. Human technology, more advanced than Intel. Suggested hidden weapons beyond our understanding. Recommend full retreat from human space. Tom couldn't help but laugh. They still think it was some super weapon that beat them. Never occurred to them to look at the cargo ship with radiation problems. Sir, Mary said, monitoring the channels. The Starhammer is organizing cleanup operations. They're asking all civilian ships to register for inspection before leaving the area. Apparently they want to document everything for their victory reports. Well then, Tom replied with a smile. We should probably have some engine troubles that force us to leave immediately. Old Betty, think you can give us a reason to skip the inspection? The AI response showed on the screen. Of course, Captain. Our radiation leak can become slightly more urgent. but not urgent enough to require assistance. Naturally, the crew grinned as their ship's fake problems suddenly got worse, giving them the perfect excuse to drift away from the battlefield behind them. The human fleet celebrated their great victory, never realizing that their greatest weapon was quietly slipping away as they cleared the battle zone. Tom looked at his crew. "Good work, everyone. Especially you, old Betty. Time to disappear again until we're needed." The A's response was simple. "Isn't that what we do best, Captain?" The Grey Dawn vanished into deep space, leaving behind a battlefield that would become famous throughout human space. But in all the stories that would be told about the battle, nobody ever mentioned the old cargo ship with engine troubles, and that was exactly how they wanted it. 3 days after the battle, the Grey Dawn docked at a small repair station on the edge of human space. The station was too small and too far from major trade routes to interest many ships, which made it perfect for their needs. The few workers there barely glanced at the old cargo ship as it settled into a quiet dock, assuming it was just another worn-out vessel needing basic repairs. Tom sat in his cabin, reading the reports from Outpost 47 on his old-style datapad. The stories of the battle were spreading fast, each one more dramatic than the last. The military took full credit for the victory, describing how their advanced weapons had overcome the AL shields. Nobody mentioned the Grey Dawn at all. A knock on his cabin door pulled him from his reading. "Come in," he called, and Mary entered with a fresh cup of coffee. "You should see what they're saying on the public channels," she said, handing in the cup. "They're calling it the miracle at Outpost 47. Apparently Admiral James personally figured out the alien shield weakness in the middle of battle." Tom smiled and took a sip of coffee. "Good. The more credit they take, the less anyone looks for other explanations. How's old Betty doing with the data analysis?" "Why don't you ask me yourself, Captain the A's?" Text appeared on a small screen in his cabin. "I've completed my review of all battle information. The Golden Armada's tactics matched every prediction from our 3 years of observation. Their overconfidence was their greatest weakness." A second knock on the door revealed Jack his hands. "Hands actually clean for once. Just finished the maintenance check. All our special systems are still completely hidden. Even the station's detailed scans only see old cargo equipment." Tom nodded, pleased, but not surprised. Everything about the Grey Dawn had been designed to be overlooked. The ship's true nature was hidden under layers of carefully crafted deception, protected by people's tendency to ignore what they thought wasn't important. "Message coming in," Mary said suddenly. "It's from Command. They're sending it to all ships in the sector." The message appeared on Tom's datapad. "Be advised, following the recent victory at Outpost 47, all ships are required to report for security inspection. The Golden Armada's unexpected defeat suggests possible hidden human technology that must be documented. Compliance is mandatory." The crew gathered in Tom's cabin looked at each other mother and smiled. They had planned for this too. "Old Betty," Tom called out. "Initiate protocol. Ghost." The AI's response was immediate. The Grey Dawn systems began a carefully programmed sequence of small changes. False maintenance records appeared in the station's database, back to before the battle cargo manifests, showed regular deliveries of basic supplies to unimportant colonies. Everything about the ship's history was designed to be so boring that no one would want to look too closely. "You know," Bill said, entering the cabin, with Pete behind him, "I heard some of the station workers talking. They think the aliens were defeated by a secret weapon hidden in the outpost defense systems. Nobody can figure out why the Golden Armad shields failed, and nobody ever will," Tom replied, "because nobody looks for advanced technology in a ship they think can barely fly straight. Speaking of which, old Betty, how are our engine problems?" Coming along, the AI's text scrolled with a hint of amusement. "Our malfunctions are perfectly maintained, Captain. We're still showing the same power fluctuations that have been in our public records for the past 5 years. According to all sensors, we're just barely spaceworthy." A loud clang from the dock made them all jump, but it was just a repair drone dropping some tools. The station's workers continued to ignore. The Grey Dawn focused on more interesting ships that had come in for real repairs after the Battle Command sent another update. Mary reported, checking her communications panel. "They're investigating reports of an unknown energy signal during the battle. They think it might have been a new alien weapon that backfired." The crew couldn't help but laugh. The mighty Golden Armada had been defeated by the one thing neither they nor the human military could understand: a ship designed to be underestimated. Captain Old Betty's text appeared again. I'm detecting encrypted transmissions from the alien homeworld. They're still trying to understand what happened. Would you like to hear their latest theory? Tom leaned back in his chair, enjoying his coffee. Go ahead, Old Betty. This should be good. The AI displayed the translated alien message. Analysis suggests humans have developed cloaking technology for major weapons platforms, recommend against future attacks. Until these hidden defense systems can be located, current search focused on military installations and large-scale facilities. They'll never find what they're looking for, Jack said with a grin, because they're looking for something big and impressive, just like everyone else. Tom stood and walked to his cabin's small viewport. The repair station stretched out before him, its workers going about their business. None of them knew that they were ignoring the ship that had just saved human space from invasion, and that was exactly how it should be. Old Betty, he said quietly, plot our next cargo route. Something nice and boring. Maybe a regular supply, run to some outer colonies already done. Captain the Eye replied, I've identified several trade routes that will let us gather more data on alien movements, while appearing completely routine. Our cargo holds will be filled with basic supplies, hiding our special equipment. As usual, the crew began to disperse, returning to their posts with the same casual attitude they always showed. They had just helped win one of the biggest battles in human history, but they acted like it was just another day at work. Oh, and Captain Old Betty added as the others left, I've updated our maintenance schedule to show increasing engine problems. In about 6 months we'll be due for major repair. That should explain any unusual movements if we need to respond to another threat. Tom smiled and finished his coffee. The Gray Dawn would continue its mission, hiding in plain sight. Let others claim the glory of victory. His ship would stay in the shadows, ready to protect humanity again when needed. A final message scrolled across his datapad. Another update from command. All ships are reminded to report any unusual technology or unexplained capabilities. The recent victory has shown that humanity's defense capabilities are stronger than previously known. Full investigation continues. Tom deleted the message without responding. The Gray Dawn's greatest defense wasn't its advanced technology or its hidden weapons. It was the simple fact that no one would ever think to look for something important in a ship they'd been trained to ignore. As the repair station day cycle dimmed tonight, the Gray Dawn sat quietly in its dock. Its systems hummed with power that no sensors could detect. Its true nature, hidden behind a carefully maintained facade of age and decay. The ship that everyone ignored had saved humanity, and no one would ever know. And somewhere in the darkness of space, other threats were waiting, but they would all make the same mistake, assuming that power had to be obvious to be real. The Gray Dawn would be ready for them, hiding behind its cloak of insignificance, protecting humanity, one ignored ship at a time.